Ahead of the Premier League show, all of us at the Because We Win team would like to wish all of our stateside viewers and listeners a happy Thanksgiving. We know it's a special time of year for everyone stateside, and we hope you have a great day. Now, let's go on and cash some tickets with the Premier League weekend. Welcome along to Betting Weekly Premier League show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright, and a massive betting weekend in prospect. Might this be the weekend that we see Manchester City slip out of the title race? We'll be previewing the Champions game at the league leaders a little later. Nigel, how are you? Hopefully better than City are. What a week it's been for them, out to plus 350 for the title, out to 5-1 for the Champions League. They can't win a game. They're minus money now to finish potless this season. It's been incredible, hasn't it, City's demise recently?
Incredible, absolutely. Good morning to you both. Yes, it's an incredible situation, but I'm still staggered there. They're plus 350 to win the Premier League title with all what's going on at the club. They're second favourites to win the Champions League as well. If this was Arsenal going through this kind of problems, and Arteta was coming out of the press conference covered in cuts and bruises and scratches on his head, what price would Arsenal be to win the Premier League title? 10 to 1?
Double price.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are expecting a bounce back, but from what we're witnessing, will we see one? I'm not so sure. I think plus 350 is very, very conservative price for them to win the Premier League, and I think it's all the things that we have said that might be carrying on in the background that the Etihad have all come out in the last few weeks, and it looks a sorry state at the moment indeed.
Yeah,
almost as bad as my tipping.
Very good goal for Pep. Plays off scratch apparently. I got that off Simon Holden. Jack, Jack, you put up Spurs to score 2 or more last weekend as a lean. It's Liverpool this weekend, so it is slightly different. But generally, is there still going to be some value, do you think, betting against Man City, or is it disappearing quickly into the ether?
Good day to you both. Good day to everyone watching and listening. Well, there is I think Nigel or Because We Win put up a poll during the week saying, is there value in Liverpool still against Man City, or is it a trap? And you're getting plus money on Liverpool. Not at this moment in time. There's not many times you're going to be getting that opportunity this season, the way they're going, and they just keep getting better and better, aren't they? And Jude Bellingham described them as the best side in Europe last night, didn't he? And that they wanted it more, and another controlled performance by them. 8 points clear, 100% record in the Champions League, only conceded 1 goal in that competition as well. It keeps getting better and better, doesn't it? So, yeah, there appears to be opportunities to take on City in one way or another if you look hard enough.
Yeah, good stuff. We're going to preview the big game. It's last up on our show because it's the last game of the Premier League slate, of course. Just to let you know, BetRivers prices for the title: Liverpool minus 125, Arsenal plus 335, City plus 350. Got a reminder of the boys' P&L so far this season as well. And if you are winning with us, just tag us in at Because We Win. And we've got more content coming in the new year, incidentally. Betting Weekly 2025 Challenger Prospects Guide. If you want it, all you got to do is sign up for the Betting Weekly newsletter. A lot of you have done that already. Head to bettingweeklystudios.com for details. Nigel, can you tell us a sneak peek of what the Prospects Guide is going to look like?
Well, Challenger is a tennis event. It's the player that's just outside the ATP Tour. So it's the tennis coverage we're doing. We're going to hopefully expand our tennis coverage next season. But the one thing you can have is my Challenger chili recipe, which is very, very interesting on the newsletter as well.
I've seen the recipe. And there are 1 or 2 interesting ingredients. Let's just put it that way. Let's kick off the Premier League slate, shall we? Friday night, 3 p.m. Eastern. Brighton against Southampton here. Brighton are minus 265. Saints are plus 650. We've got a couple of leans from the boys on this one. I mean, Nigel, if you've bet against Brighton this season in the Premier League, then you've lost more money than if you bet against any other team. I mean, oppose them at your peril, but they are short at minus 265. Any thoughts, any value for the game at the Amex?
Well, it's when they're these heavy price minus money favourites. This is when they get turned over. That's one of my points I was going to make straight away here. I mean, in their home fixtures this season, they've won 3 and drawn 3 in the Premier League. The 3 matches they've drawn have been at home to Ipswich, Forest and Wolves, when Wolves were really struggling at that period of time as well. So they were heavy minus money favourites in those 3 matches, and you got your fingers burnt. And again, we're talking about traps with Man City and Liverpool. Isn't Brighton a trapper at minus 265? Last week in the Premier League, and I mentioned it on Twitter, and I mentioned it a lot, that the home sides didn't deliver. There was only one home win in the Premier League last week, and that was Arsenal. There was some heavy favourites on the road, but home favourites, we spoke about it on the dojo, myself and Neil Channing, looked at home advantage. Is home advantage diminishing now? And this much here, I mean, minus 265. Brighton should win this. They are the favourites to win this, but it's got that look of a price that I wouldn't touch Brighton at minus 265 with anyone's money. Southampton, there was positives against Liverpool, scored goals, looked dangerous, but huge negatives. Defended so naive, give the ball away in crucial areas, were punished against the top level. Brighton matches this season, 10 matches in all competitions, 9 of the 10 both teams have scored. I'm looking at goals in this match. Both teams have scored, yes, is quite low at minus 167. Over 3.25 goals is minus 112. Brighton games just produce goals. Southampton's defensive naivety they will definitely concede, and they have got the ability to score as well. So I think this will be an entertaining match. I'm leaning towards goals, but on the money line, minus 265. If you're going to bet them, you're going to have to be. You're a very brave man. I wouldn't touch Brighton at minus 265 at all.
Yeah, very short. No value in the money line prices. Their value elsewhere. Ramsdale still out, of course, for Southampton. I thought that was a miss in their game against Liverpool last weekend. Jack, what you got for us?
Yeah, I've gone for Brighton to be winning at half-time at minus 117. One thing I'd be cautious of with Brighton is, unlike what we're used to with them, they're overperforming their XG. So they're actually taking more chances than they should be, which is complete opposite from what we're used to. Southampton, for me, are just the unlucky losers. They just keep finding a way to shoot themselves in the foot. They missed a penalty, albeit scored the rebound. Goalkeeper goes AWOL. McCarthy's not a good replacement for Ramsdale, as you've already pointed out. And then they gave a penalty away as well. So remind me so much of Burnley from last season. I pinpointed Salah last week. I look at Brighton on that side. You're probably looking at Rutter. I'm not convinced enough by him at the moment to go side with him. So I'm going with that half-time result. They've been leading at half-time, Brighton, in 4 of their last 5 league games. Man City was the only one that wasn't the case, although they turned it around and beat them, of course. And Southampton have been losing at half-time in 5 of their 6 Premier League road games. Bizarrely, it was just Arsenal away that they managed to hang on to a 0-0. They haven't scored in a first half yet. So I'm going with Brighton, who can go second, of course, with a win here. They've got a bit of daylight between themselves and 6th place at the moment. So you'd assume that they're going to be looking to come out the traps firing here against the whipping boys of the Premier League. So I'll take them to be leading at half-time as my lean.
Let's get some official plays. We're going to move into the Saturday games here. Saturday, 10 a.m. First up, we have got Nigel's 1 unit play. It's Brentford against Leicester here. Brentford are minus money favourites, but not maybe as short as I thought they were going to be at minus 152. Leicester plus 370, who are still without a manager. Last I looked, Nigel, I think it was Ruud van Nistelrooy, was very, very short to become the next coach of the Foxes. Brentford back on home turf. We know how good they are. You don't fancy them on a money line. Again, you've got a little creative, but you are siding with the bees.
Yeah, I am siding with these. Van Nistelrooy will be named manager of Leicester today, Thursday, or probably tomorrow. And he'll probably be in the dugout for this match as well. And he's going to bring the whole of the backroom staff from Manchester United. So that's a negative for Leicester fans straight away, isn't it, really? I did say last week with the Manchester United match, Amiron, the stats on managers that get in their first match at the bounce back, or how they perform. And I did highlight that the teams at the top of the table did much better than teams at the bottom of the table. Now, Leicester are a side that's struggling. And he's going to take time to turn it around. You would expect some kind of performance from Leicester, but we know how strong Brentford are at home, as we've said on this show throughout the season. They're the Jekyll and Hyde club of the Premier League. Last week, Jack cashed on the under 2 goals in the Brentford match at Everton. Their away form is diabolical, but at home, they've got the best home record in the Premier League. 6 matches, 5 wins, 1 draw, no defeats. They've got the best first half record in the Premier League. Scored 6 goals in the first half in the Premier League as well. We know that they've scored some of the quickest goals in the Premier League, fast starts. And the one thing Leicester do is concede lots and lots of goals. If you look at the half-time records this season, Brentford are at the top of the half-time performance levels and Leicester at the bottom of the half-time records this season. So when you bear that in mind, they're a fast starting side, Brentford. They're back at the G-Tech where they're so hard to beat. They relish these kind of matches. They beat teams that are lower than them. That's how they've survived in the Premier League for the last 2 or 3 seasons, because they've beaten teams in or around them and below them. They only usually get beaten by the big boys. Same again this season. I expect a fast start from Brentford, and I expect Brentford to be leading at half-time. And for that price, you can get plus 116. That is the price for Brentford to be leading at half-time. I think it's got to be taken. They're minus 152 to win on the match. We know there's goals in their games. If you look at the goals line, the goals line is very, very high. But this is the best first half side against the worst first half side in the Premier League. The new manager factor has been factored into this price. But as I said, when teams taking over teams in relegation battle in the bottom six of the Premier League, it takes a bit of time for the manager to settle in. So Brentford to continue where they left off at home. Fast start, leading at half-time, plus 116.
That's Nigel's one unit play. Jack, you've got to lean for us. And again, you're leaning towards Brentford.
Yeah, minus 0.75 Asian handicap at minus 113. Very, very, very close to this becoming an official play for me. Just opted out of it in the end. Good news for Brentford is their captain, Norgard, got sent off last week against Everton, but that card's been rescinded, so he will be playing here, which is big for them in the middle of the park. And of course, Leicester were woeful last week against Chelsea. Really, really bad. Up until they scored that last-minute penalty, they'd only had 3 shots, all of them off target. So bad, of course, that they sacked Steve Cooper. So I can't see a massive turnaround from Leicester in this short space of time. The players were obviously on Saturday having a Christmas knees up. And we all know how they go, don't we? And that was in Denmark. So, yeah, not the best probably preparation as far as this is concerned. And I say it's very quick turnaround for if it is Nistelrooy, which we expect it to be confirmed in the next 24 hours. I don't think that's going to have too much of an impact. So I'm happy to decide for all the reasons that Nigel's outlined there with Brentford being so strong at home, taking them on a minus 0.75 handicap here. Obviously, only you've made profit in 5 of those 6 home games this season.
Let's get Jack's 2-unit play, shall we? We move to the City Ground and Nottingham Forest against Ipswich. Again, 10 a.m. Eastern here. Forest are minus money favourites off the back of a couple of defeats, as we know. Ipswich, well, have been very good. They beat Spurs fair and square. Probably should have beat Manchester United last time out. I mean, they're nearly 4-1 to win this game. Are we playing on the money line for your 2-unit play, or are we going elsewhere?
No, going back to the goals here, and I'm going under 2.5 goals in this one. It's minus 107, which I think is a nice price for the bet. Forest have gone from having one of the tightest defences in the league to shipping 3 goals in both their last 2 games. But they were against Arsenal and an in-form Newcastle that particular game. And so you can make some cases for that. And a key element for me was they went to Arsenal. It was a low block. They tried to defend their way out of it. They didn't have any shots on target at all in that game. They did miss Chris Wood, who was sat on the bench for most of it. He will be back for this one. But they don't really create an awful lot of chances, and they're kind of looking to score off minimal. The key element for me was how Nuno will approach this one. He was very disappointed, angry with the performances, the last couple of performances. So expect them to kind of go back to basics to a certain degree here. I think they'll look to keep it very tight defensively. Ipswich were impressive against Manchester United, but I think Manchester United offered them the opportunities to do that. They didn't press them. They didn't really have a lot of energy in the side, certainly in the forward areas, which allowed Ipswich to then progress through and into those spaces. They won't get that against Forest. Forest will keep it tight. That's what they do. And I think this could be a little bit of a standoff to a certain degree because Ipswich know they need to pick up points. City Ground, not the easiest place to go, but I think they'll feel that they can take something from the game, but they will want to keep it relatively tight. Ipswich, you look at they've been to a couple of sides this season and cashed on the unders with a 0-0 draw at Brighton, 1-1 draw at Southampton, which is probably not too dissimilar to how it's going to be here at the City Ground. And most of their road games have been against sides that like to attack them and be open and expansive. Man City, Brentford, Tottenham. So it's no real surprise that those ones have gone over. Whereas this one, so I think, will be a bit more of maybe a nervy affair. I think Forest will know they can't afford to lose this one. They've started the season exceptionally well. Their defensive processes are extremely strong. They're actually the best in the division as far as expected goals against are concerned. Chances conceded are concerned. It's just gone a bit wrong from the last couple. So I think they'll go back to keeping it tight against a side where the lap up front for Ipswich, this will probably suit Forest centre-backs. Physical battle, a strong battle. Those 2 centre-backs will like that. And you look at Forest's home games, their opening 4 games were all under 2.5 goals quite comfortably. So I think we should see a kind of back to that normal here, and a tight game, which could be a single goal win either way, or a 0-0, 1-1 draw.
Unders for Jack, 2-unit play. Nigel, are you weighing in with an unders with this one as well?
Well, I would go lean more towards Lunders than overs, but I wouldn't really get involved here. I said last week that I got a feeling that Forest could just go on a downward trajectory in the Premier League table, and I think that could happen here. I haven't been impressed with them in their last two matches. I know Arsenal battered them. Arsenal could have won by a lot more. It was a real good performance by Arsenal. You were there, Dan. You saw it firsthand. Arsenal were exceptional, but they didn't have anything up against them, and Forest offered nothing. The match before was a worry for me at home to Newcastle. We see Newcastle get embarrassed by West Ham at home in the following match. So that was a worry for me. And I just got a feeling, look aside, that have peaked a little bit too early. If they had a couple of less points, I know it might sound silly, but say they were sitting on 17, 18 points. How many points are they on? 16? I don't know how many points they're on. But if they had a couple less points, say 2 less wins, I'd be looking
19.
at them. I'd be looking at them to get relegated.
Yeah.
I think they've got enough already.
Enough.
Yeah, but I think if they had say 3 or 4 less points than that, I think they could go down really quickly. This is a big match for them to keep that, because up next for Forest, they've got to go to Manchester City. That's an easy game at the moment. They've got to go to Manchester United, and they've got Aston Villa in the next 3 matches. They lose all those 4 matches. They're 13th, 14th in the Premier League. Very, very different feel about it. So I've been impressed with Ipswich this season. I was impressed with them at the start of the season. I said at the time, a lot of Shrewdies still want to get with Ipswich. They're very popular at Ipswich now on the Asian handicap. The big Asian syndicates like getting with Ipswich. They took time to get going, but I've been really impressed from their last 2 matches. They're excellent against Tottenham. That wasn't fluke. They were brilliant. And they played really well against Manchester United, especially after going down so early and then with a new manager syndrome as well. I thought they were exceptional. So I'm leaning towards Ipswich plus 3/4 goal here at -108, because really at the start of the season we expected Nottingham Forest to be a bottom 4 side, bottom 5, bottom 6 side. Ipswich we thought would be bottom 3, bottom 4. This is being priced up as though Nottingham Forest are a genuine top 8 team. I'm not really convinced there is that much gulf between them. -150 and plus 295 on the money line. I was tempted to put Ipswich in as my hot dog on the money line here at plus 295, because I've got a feeling that the Nottingham Forest bubble could burst going into 2025.
Interesting stuff. Ipswich we are siding with, and unders we like as well. Let's get to Wolves against Bournemouth, because this is Nigel's 2-unit play here. Wolves are plus 175. Bournemouth are the favourites, plus 145. It's almost a pick-em contest, this one. Nigel, Wolves aiming for 3 on the spin, but as we say, Bournemouth are favourites on the money line. And we're sticking with this Wolves renaissance under Gary O'Neill against his former club, of course.
Yeah, I said at the end of October that Wolves would beat someone at a big price and give them a good hiding. And they did last week against Fulham. No one expected that performance, 4-1, but I could see it coming from Wolves. They're an improving side, and they're getting better and better in each week, and they've been really, really unlucky. I mean, I've gone with them 3 times. This has been my 3rd time in the last 4 weeks. I went with them at home to Crystal Palace. They drew 2-2. I bet them on the money and lost. And I bet them at home to Southampton. It's the 3rd successive match I've gone for Wolves here. I think what we've seen from Wolves in recent weeks, I'm really surprised they're not favourites, or not, at least pick them. They're plus 175 on the money line. Bournemouth are plus 145. I'm not convinced by Bournemouth. I know they beat Manchester City, but they do all their good stuff at home. If you look at their home record, they've beaten Arsenal, Manchester City and Southampton. They've only won 4 matches in the Premier League season. There's 3 of them at home. On the road, I'm not convinced by them. They got beat by Leicester. They went to Brentford, got beat 3-2. But beat by West Ham in the Cup. Nottingham Forest, they drew first time this season. They don't win anything on the road. I don't get these prices. I think Bournemouth are a little bit overrated. I do get them at home. They do score lots of goals, but on the road, they're a very different side. Very similar to Brentford, really. Very good at home. Difficult to beat, but on the road, a completely different side. So I've gone for Wolves here on the draw no bet market. So if it is a draw, we get our money back, even money. I would be very, very surprised if the money didn't come for Wolves here. I think this will start a pick and match, or may even flip. I think Wolves could be the favourite here. Gary O'Neill's done an amazing job. They should have got something from that game against Manchester City. That was the first kind of game when we knew there was a problem at Man City. They didn't get disappointed with that result. They've come back and got an unbeaten run of 4 matches. And I think they'll continue it. I also like Cunha. I think he's some absolutely tremendous player. I think he's another one who's going to leave Wolves on the conveyor belt, go to a bigger club. I could see him be a target for Manchester United or Manchester City potentially if they can get over their problems. He's that good, this boy. And he was exceptional last week. I was so close to putting him up. I said he could be a bet to score at any time, but he wasn't a bet. But I was looking at him as, again, the possibility of a hot dog this week. He's plus 220 to score at any time. I like that price. I think he's a real talent, and I think Wolves have got a player there. And I think he could be the difference in this match against a Bournemouth side who I do not trust on the road. So the odds look wrong for me. Wolves drawn, I bet, even money. The ex-manager, obviously, Gary O'Neill, as we said, come in there. They lost. I think they lost last two matches, didn't they? I think they lost this match last season. I know they lost this match 1-0 last season, but this is a very different Wolves side from what we saw 7 weeks ago. And I think the market hasn't caught up with them yet. So surprised they're the underdogs. Wolves drawn, I bet, with the insurance of a draw. It's a push.
Yeah, Bournemouth won the last meeting between the two
Is it 1-0?
at Molineux. Yeah, 1-0. But Wolves were away from home last season. Jack, what you got for us? Also, sticking with this Wolves theme here for your lean.
Yeah, similar theme for me. I've just gone for Wolves team goals. I'm not certain they're going to keep a clean sheet. So I think that for them to win, they're going to need to score 2 or more. So I've gone with over 1.5 team goals. It's plus 110 as my lean for much of the same reasons what Nigel's outlined there as far as why he's thinking they're going to win. And again, Cunha was very close to me being put up as a hot dog. We could have had the same hot dogs there. But again, I just kind of went elsewhere. But I think their attacking abilities this season are a little bit under the radar, Wolves. They've scored in every game bar the first one, which was against Arsenal. And Arsenal's David Raya, goalkeeper, was man of the match that day as well. So that's been an impressive run of form. They've scored in every home game. They hit 2 in half of those against Chelsea, Crystal Palace and Southampton. They only hit 1 against tough sides, Newcastle, Liverpool, Man City. So that's all the makings that they'll be able to go better than that against this Bournemouth side that do concede. Only 1 clean sheet all season. That came against Arsenal, who were down to 10 men for most of that game. And away they've shipped 2 or more against Everton, Liverpool and Brentford. And 1 goal against Villa, Leicester and Forest. So, yeah, I think Wolves will be well up for this one. No Semenyo for Bournemouth is a big miss for them. And, over 1.5 Wolves goals at plus 110.
Good stuff. I want quick fire answer to the next one. Couple of leans only. Palace, Newcastle. Both of these teams absolutely snookered betters last weekend. Palace, obviously, with that point at Villa and Newcastle, everyone was on, and they got done by West Ham. We don't need to dwell on any of them because none of them have done us as favours recently. Nigel, what you got in the Palace-Newcastle game?
It was a big move for Palace last week against Villa, big negative towards Villa. Newcastle, worst performance of the season. Palace, probably their best performance of the season. So on the back of one game, you'd be betting Crystal Palace, but it's not that easy. Palace home record is pretty awful. Don't score many goals. Last 7 matches. Last 4 matches in Palace matches, only 4 goals in the Premier League have featured. So I think both sides, Palace at home are quite negative, and Newcastle need to get something from this match. So I think quite a nervy match, and my lean would be under 2.5 goals at even money.
Okay, Jack?
Same lean for me. Yeah, that Villa game, it was 3.11 XG versus 1.26, and Palace had 30% of the ball. So you can see why it wasn't exactly that they deserved to win that one. Nigel's outlined the poor goal scoring record there. 14 of the last 16 meetings between these two sides have gone under 2.5 goals, including the last 7 at Selhurst Park. So 3 0-0s in the last 5. Under 2.5 goals for me.
Newcastle are the most profitable under 2.5 goal team in the Premier League this season. So that's 3 leans, if I can have a lean. Just 3 leans equal official play, Nigel.
I'll tell you on Monday.
I was expecting a no then. I must be going up in the world. West Ham versus Arsenal.
We need all the help we can get, and that's how desperate we are asking you for help us. That's how real desperate this show is at the moment. We're asking for you to help us out. We must be in some serious trouble.
12:30 on Saturday is West Ham versus Arsenal. All London affair, of course. West Ham are plus 575. Arsenal have been back this morning. They're minus 225. Nigel, they're the shortest price away team on the weekend slate. You're talking about home and away here. Arsenal were easy winners at West Ham last season. And they were very impressive against Forest, as you mentioned. Very impressive first half against Sporting in midweek. I mean, you could argue this should be even shorter than minus 225. But that's not the type of price that we like. What's your lean?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a very good record against West Ham in recent seasons. Obviously, they won this 6-0 last season. And I think people will look at this feature and think, well, this is going to be tough. It hasn't been tough for the last few years for Arsenal. I mean, it's amazing that they're starting off minus 235 and big moves on the back of West Ham beating Newcastle. You would expect the market to be sort of quite favourable towards West Ham. Can you imagine what price they'd be if West Ham lost 3-0 to Newcastle? It would be minus 350. I'm going to go. I'm going to go for Arsenal to win to 0 here. I mean, they're back to their best. I said it last week in the lean for the Nottingham Forest match. I thought Arsenal was to win to 0. It's plus 130. We know how strong they are defensively. They've got all their main players back. I think they'll be, and I think they're now on a mission. They know that Man City are more or less gone now. They're aiming for Liverpool at the top, and they've got to win pretty much every match they go to the pitch to have any chance. I think they're a bet now to win the Premier League. I do. I've been very, very not negative or critical about Liverpool, but I've been worried about Liverpool. I think they're doing brilliant now, but I think there's a test. There's obviously 3 key players who haven't signed their contracts. You know, Van Dijk, Salah, and obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold, who looks like he's certain to go to Real Madrid. If they don't sort that Salah problem out, they could have a similar problem that Man City have there. It's a rookie manager. And going into the new year, he needs to sort the off-field problems out. Arsenal now got everyone back. And I think if you like Arsenal here at minus 235, heading into the weekend where we got the big one, Liverpool, Man City, I think now's the time to bet Arsenal win the Premier League.
What have you got for this game for us, Jack?
Arsenal. Oh, sorry. I thought I was just going to Arsenal's win to 0 plus 130.
Jack?
Well, he's answered it for me anyway, because that's exactly the same.
Do you know what? These two make such a big show about not sort of, we send our tips in independently.
We do.
You're having the same every week. You must have got on a bus together to school or something. I don't know.
What can we say? Yeah, I think both teams to score no is a relatively decent price, and minus 112 was it, something like that. So on its own right, it's quite decent. But sticking the Arsenal win with that as well at plus 130. Yeah, I think West Ham grew into that game against Newcastle because Newcastle suddenly just fell apart, really. So they had a bit of confidence there. The big one for me is making sure that Gabriel, team news on this one, Gabriel was out, wasn't he? Or he got substituted late in the game in Lisbon. So if he's fit, then this will be a super confident play. I'm sure he will be from what's been said. But just wanted to keep an eye on. But yeah, for those reasons that Nigel said, I've got nothing else to add as to the reasons behind it. So an Arsenal win to 0 for me.
Good stuff. Sunday slate, some really good games. Obviously, teams coming back from playing in the Europa League as well as the Champions League. So more games on Sunday for bettors. Hopefully you're tailing us for the Sunday. We're going to start with Chelsea Villa. Just got a couple of leans from the boys for this one. Chelsea are minus money favourites. They're minus 148. Villa plus 360 off the back of a sort of dour sort of performance against Juventus in the Champions League here. Nigel, I don't know if Chelsea are becoming flat track bullies. They seem to win at minus money fairly regularly this season. And maybe it's a bit of a surprise that they're minus money against Villa, but Villa have dipped a little bit. I thought it was a difficult one to get a handle on this one. What do you think?
I don't think it's a surprise that they're minus money at all because they're the side, I think, other than Liverpool, that everyone's adjusted most in their ratings. They are very, very impressive, Chelsea. And perhaps not this year, but next year they'll be challenging for the title, I think. I think they're that good. Everybody expected a bit of a comeback after Pochettino's incident, a rookie manager coming in. But again, like Liverpool, they've been really good. They've got youth. They've got so many good players and they get better and better and better. So they are a rebase. They're a genuine top 4 team, I think. I think they're arguably now the 3rd best team in England. If you think Man City are on the slide, I think they're 4th. But I think if Chelsea and Man City played tomorrow on a neutral pitch, Man City would be marginal favourites. But I think Chelsea are minus 148 on the money line. It's not the kind of price I would take, but I think I've got to bet them just given Villa's record after Champions League matches. I mean, Munich drew 0-0, Man United. Then they went to Bologna, 1-1 with Bournemouth. Then the Bruges lost 2-0 Liverpool. And Juventus played Chelsea this weekend. So the fixtures hasn't been good for Villa after Champions League matches, but I think it's taken so much out of this squad. And it's the same team that comes back again. Not many changes, same players. And I think they're finding it testing in the Premier League. Hence the reason why they're now, 7 matches without any wins. So I'm going to keep it simple. I think Chelsea will win it. I wouldn't bet them at minus 148, but I'd probably put them in the weekend parlay.
Jack, what do you think? Yeah, we're fading Villa still. Are we getting with Chelsea again?
Yeah, I've gone with the minus 1 Asian handicap just to get a plus 120 on it. I think it's a free swing at I fancy Chelsea to win it. So, as I said before, you can get a bit of a free swing at the minus 1 here so they can win by 2 or more goals. Don't be fooled. Anyone looking at thinking, Chelsea away in Europe tonight, Thursday night, that will be a completely different side. That's their European side. They'll be completely fresh going into the game at the weekend, unlike Villa, who had that tough game against Juventus on Wednesday night. This is probably the first time I've gone against Villa in 2 seasons, isn't it? But, minus 1 here. again, the same reasons what Nigel has said. The one thing different that I'd add to it is that I think where Villa's defensive problems have come in is that last season their defence was built on that offside trap. We talked about it a lot. We've had a few bets on it as well. This game last season, they caught Chelsea offside 10 times. This season so far in 6 away games, their total catching the opposition offside is 9. So you can see it's completely different, and sides are now working out ways to get round them. And when they play with a high line, obviously it leaves the defence really, really exposed. So with the fluid front 4-5 that Chelsea have got, I think they could have a little bit of fun here against Villa and score some goals. I was looking at Pedro Neto, who was out last week and back. He's not priced up with Bet Rivers at the moment, but one to keep an eye on because that's a weak side for Villa as well. But yeah, -1, Asian handicap for me in this one at decent plus money, plus 120.
Yeah, worth pointing out, it is a completely different team. There's a lot of their big hitters not even named in that Conference League squad. Nigel, you talked about Cole Palmer last week, and he had a shot cleared off the line by his own
mate,
player.
that was unbelievable, wasn't it? Absolutely unbelievable. That was my luck. And then Isaac the week before, and any-time goal score. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Oh dear, it's not working for us.
I wasn't very happy when I had a nice few quid on that as well, and I thought, oh, here we go. My day.
Also 8:30 on Sunday morning, Manchester United Everton. We have got an official play here from Jack. United are very, very short. They've only been shorter against Leicester this season, a match that they've won. Everton have only been bigger against Spurs, a match that they lost. They're just over 5-1 to win the game. A 1-unit play on this one for you, Jack. Talk us through it.
Yeah, under 2.5 goals for me at plus 117. Again, I think that's a big price for what we're looking at here with these two sides. Obviously, it couldn't have been a better start for Amorim. 81 seconds and they scored. But after that, it was pretty turgid stuff again, wasn't it? It was pretty much what we've seen from United over the last couple of seasons. To be expected, he's only had about 20 minutes on the training pitches at that point of time. So looking at the way they set up, trying to pick how we're going to play, we've seen it at Sporting playing with those 3 centre-backs. In essence, it should make United tighter, and it's gone on the radar a little bit that Anana's kept more clean sheets than any goalkeeper in the Premier League so far this season. So defensively, pretty tight so far already. Had a great game against Ipswich as well. Kept him in it, got on the point really. Without him, they would have lost that one. But he's having a good season, and so I think with this 3 centre-back set up, I think that should mean that United will be a bit tighter than even they have been so far. And, of course, a big swing here for this bet is that it's Everton who they're in opposition against. And, I think we've cashed 2 or 3 times in the last few weeks with Everton unders. They're just like the first 4 games saw a flurry of goals in it. There was a lot of goals in those early stages, and that's kind of skewed the numbers a little bit. But when you look at after that point of time, they reverted to type. 0-0 last weekend, as we talked about, cashed under 2 goals in that one. The last 8 league games have produced us 10 goals, and that's an average of 1.25 per game. 7 of those 8 have cashed under 2.5 goals. And you just look what they've got in forward areas. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, just not the player that we saw him sort of pushing Harry Kane to be England's number 9 2-3 seasons ago. Dwight McNeil, they can't rely on him to come to the table every single week, and he's carrying a little bit of an injury as well. And other than that, they've not got a lot else going forward, so they're really struggling. Defensively, though, proper sound, and I think that's what Sean Dyche has done. He's looked at it and gone, we're going to have to be really hard to beat. We're going to grind our way to some points. We're going to try and win a counter-attack goal or a set-piece goal. And I just think that this game has got a kind of tight, cagey. Man United probably probing and trying to get through. So they won last season 2-0. The last two games at Old Trafford against Everton have been 2-0. So I can see a similar scenario here. And as I say, I think that's the way this one's going to go. So plus money, under 2.5 goals.
I think Ruben Amorim has come out, Nigel, and said, look, there is going to be short-term pain for long-term gain here. Is now the time to oppose United for bettors, do you think? I mean, they're minus 200 favourites here. I mean, I can't believe anyone's going to bet them at that sort of price. How do you see it?
Well, I can't see him getting beat. I just can't see him getting beat. It wouldn't surprise me to see him being drawing. 0-0 wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if you look at Everton's recent record, it's the board will be calling Sean Dyche in and saying to him, listen, we've only won 2 in 9. He'll say, well, we've only lost 1 in 9. 6 draws in that period of time. So statistics can be quite funny, can't they? So I just got a feeling here that this is going to be, you know exactly what to expect from Everton, but that might suit Man United, actually, if the team sits back on them and they just try to break them down with the crowd behind them. It's when, they have to go on the front foot, I think, and they don't really, they can't when teams go at them, I think they're vulnerable. So I think this could be quite interesting here. I do think under 2.5 goals is a bet, definitely. I do expect Man United to probably nick it 1-0 though. I was looking to more nearer towards Man United to win 2-0 at plus 150. And I was going to give a mention to Marcus Rashford, because I've mentioned this on this show a couple of years ago. Rashford is a streaky goal scorer and he needs to be motivated. And once he gets scoring, he goes on 5 or 6 runs where he scores. If you look at Rashford's goal scoring record, he's not consistent over a long period of time. But when he gets a hand around his shoulder, hugged by the manager and told him, listen, you're the main man here, he goes on runs. And he's plus 190 to score any time. He scored the first goal in the Amaron era. He's probably going to stick with him. He's going to play more in the advanced position like he did the other day. And I've got a feeling that he might go on a goal scoring run here. So plus 190, Rashford would be a lean. Man United to win 2-0, 1-0, and under 2.5 goals. That'll do us all, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it sounds like a decent same game parlay. That we'll get to it surely. You're dead right about Rashford. Just look over the last 12 months. He scored 3 and 4, sort of December into January. Then nothing for a while, then 3 on the spin in sort of March, then nothing for a while, then into September this year, 3 and 2. So he's a streaky striker.
You look at his record when he come back from the Qatar, from the World Cup 2 years ago. He came back from the World Cup. He was arguably one of England's best players in that World Cup. Couldn't come on against France in the quarterfinal, almost changed it. And then he came back in the Premier League when it come back after the winter break. And he went on a run where he scored in something like 7 in
Absolutely
in 8
right,
matches.
7 on the spin.
Yeah, and I got now with the new manager, he clearly didn't like Ten Hag. Clearly there was a problem there. Ten Hag never played him. Now he feels he's important again. He's a quality player, and I think he just needs a little bit of confidence, and this manager will give him the confidence, and I think he'll go on a streak.
We have got 2 more games to take a look at. Again, 8:30 on Sunday is Spurs against Fulham. We have got Jack's hot dog here, and we've still got the big game to preview as well. Spurs minus 159. I actually thought they were going to be shorter here, I must admit, because no one's going to back them at a really short price off the back of that unbelievable game against Man City. But minus 159 is a bit of a tempter. I don't know, Jack.
My hot dog is for Fulham. Tie no bet at plus 255. Could Spurs be about to do the perfect Spursy thing, go and stuff Man City 4-0, and then roll over against Fulham? Let's talk about Fulham first of all. They were humbled last week, weren't they? Wolves battered them. One caveat to that is that Anderson went off with an injury on about 75 minutes. They'd already used all their subs, so they were down to 10 men when Wolves scored the final 2 goals. Not taking too much away from Wolves, but it's probably put a bit of gloss to the result. Prior to that, Fulham were impressing pretty much everyone. People were talking about them being a top 6 side. Could they even challenge the top 4? And I don't think we should write them off as saying that that's all not going to happen now just as a back of one result. So I'm going to give them another chance. And what a perfect opportunity. Then you go to Spurs and see if they can get something from this. So not a great record against Spurs, but they stopped the rot last time out when they did win 3-0, admittedly at home. But I think that's suited to this matchup. I think that's suited to this style, because when they went to Man City come at them and they could exploit with the pace that they've got, the good technical players they've got a focal point up front, a bit of confidence between both those 2 strikers. Smith Rowe, we've talked about a lot as well. They've got a lot to like going forward. So I think they can hurt Spurs, who will come at them and leave them a lot of space to get in behind with that high line that they play as well. And of course, Spurs have a big night in Europe Thursday night against Roma. So one of the bigger games that you're going to get in the Europa League. So only 2 days to recover from it, whereas Fulham have obviously had the full week. And I think that will play a part. Spurs after Europe, they won their first game after Europe, which was a home game. They won 3-0 against Man United. Then they got beat 3-2 by Brighton. Then they got beat 1-0 by Crystal Palace. Palace's only winner of the season. Then they got beat 2-1 at home to Ipswich. Ipswich's only winner of the season. So if those sides can beat Tottenham on the back of coming after the European, I'd like to have Fulham as a chance on the fact that we get a refund on our stake if this game ends in a tie, but we're still getting plus 255 if Fulham can get the job done and get a win.
That is Fulham tie no bet plus 255 as Jack's hot dog of the week. Nigel, tempted by minus 159 Spurs, or are Spurs going to do Spurs things?
Well, they're minus 162 now, so the money has come for Spurs. I expect the money to come for Spurs, but incredible. They lose at home to Ipswich and they go and win at Man City 4-0. Just sums up Spurs.
How much did you have 150 to 1, by the way?
Sorry?
How much did you have on
no, that was
150 to 1?
yeah. Well, I wish lovely hot dog.
Hot dog.
It would be great. But I just think here that I just got a feeling that Spurs will probably win this one. I can understand Jack's point, but I do think Tottenham will concede. I think it'd be quite a decent watch. My lean was for Tottenham, both teams to score, and Tottenham to win on the money line, which is plus 145 to enhance that price. The one thing I would say for Tottenham is obviously their goalkeeper. Vicario is out for a long time. I think he's not due back till sort of March or so. So he's out for a long time, and that could be a problem for Tottenham. But I was very interested to. I don't know if you watched Betting Weekly Live yesterday with Will White, and Will White is someone that he's a big gambler, gambles for his living, and someone I respect very much. He said he read somewhere he's saying that a goalkeeper is probably the least significant position to replace in a team when it comes to betting.
Interesting.
So, which I found really interesting. I looked at Fraser Forster, who's the replacement. He's played 23 times in his career for Tottenham. He's only been on a winning side 8 times in 23 matches. And when you bear in mind, he's played this majority of matches in the League Cup and the low-level Europa League competitions, where he's been playing teams where they've won, and he's won more or less all his games there. When he's played in the Premier League, Tottenham haven't won. So I do think that's a factor. I'm not disputing what Will said at all, but I do think that the fact that Vicario is a key player for Tottenham, I can understand, sort of a bog standard goalkeeper, but look at the Liverpool goalie, what he's doing without Alisson. I mean, that enhances Will's point there. But Fraser Forster's record when he's been in between the sticks for Tottenham in the Premier League is a poor one. So I do expect goals. I do think Tottenham might edge it. I expect him to concede. So both teams to score, yes, and Tottenham plus 148 is a better way, I think, of getting with them if you want to take the minus 162.
Big game of the weekend is, of course, at Anfield. It's Liverpool versus Manchester City. And Liverpool are plus money favourites, just plus 110. Last that I looked, Man City plus 250, draw plus 240 here. I mean, Nigel, City haven't been this type of price for a long, long time. You've got to go back to April 17 and an away game against Chelsea. They were plus 260 then. City are huge here. I mean, do we not, from a betting point of view, are we not just tempted here with Man City, the champions, the best team of the last decade, at 5-2 plus 250 to win this football match?
Well, I think if you look at this, I really don't know where the market's going to go. I have no idea. And that's why I put that tweet up. What do you think? Liverpool are better, plus 110. On what you've seen so far in the last 6 matches, Liverpool should be minus 250 on what we've seen. But obviously we know this is, it's a short sample size and Man City. But will they get better? Kyle Walker is gone. De Bruyne, to me, he's not the player he was. Haaland's clearly not happy. They're massively missing Alvarez. Massively. He could change things up. He's a better. Sometimes I had a debate with you, Dan. You thought he was a better striker than all-round striker. What he's doing, they've lost some key players. Grealish has been out. I know he's not a player. Foden, nowhere near the same player from United. So there's some serious problems going on at Manchester City. It's not just the results. It's the performances. And I think the 4-0 against Tottenham last week. I was watching that and it was a freak because on any other given day, Haaland would score 2 goals, 3 goals. Man City could have been 3-0 up before Tottenham scored. And you just have to sit back and go, what a freak result. The match against Feyenoord is the one that I thought, hang on a minute, this is serious problems. You're 3-0 up with 15 minutes to go against a team that you'd be minus 800 to beat them a year ago and you can see 3 goals in 15 minutes. There's something clearly not right here. So on what we've seen recently, Liverpool have got to be a better 1 plus 110, but it's all about how Liverpool approach this match, I think. I think if Liverpool approach this match and say, right, we're just going to put a number on them, we'll go at them, we'll score 3 goals, they can blow them out the title race. But I don't think Arne Slot's that kind of guy. I think if it was Jurgen Klopp, I think they would go at it and it would be an end-to-end match. It doesn't really... I'm going to go with a bet here statistically, I think, is an angle. But I think it all matters on the approach of Liverpool. Just 17 goals conceded in 6 matches for Manchester City. I mean, that's scary. That's relegation form. There's something going on behind the scenes. Guardiola's even falling out some players, or he's telling them, or they know there's some disastrous news coming around the corner, but there's something going on there, and I've got no idea what it is. And it's an impossible one, I feel, to have a bet on the money line because everything's factored into these prices, and we really don't know what to have. I've actually gone my lean here, my hot dog is for over 4 goals, which is plus 245, because I just got a feeling that Liverpool have to think to themselves, we get into this side, Salah up against Kyle Walker at the moment. It's me against Steve Wish. Wish would be trailing me in his weight. It's gonna be. He's got a fancy chances of getting in behind him at the moment. So I think they've got to go for it. I think statistically, there's always goals in this game. If you go back to 2019, 2020, there's been 14 matches between these two sides, and in 9 of them, 4 or more goals have cashed. So in 9 of the 14, this is the worst defensive unit we've ever seen from Manchester City. This is a Liverpool side who have the huge opportunity to blow them out of the title race. If Liverpool played this for a 0-0 draw and they didn't win the league, it would be the biggest disaster they have. They're there for the taking. Go at them, get that crowd behind them, and give them a good hiding, and get them 11 points behind you, because that's what you've got to do, and you can do it. But it's all about Liverpool's tactics here. If Liverpool go for it, plus 110 will be a bet. But it's a game that if Liverpool do go for it, Man City will come out and there's got to be goals. So over 4 goals, plus 245. I got there in the end. Minus is the bet for me.
Yeah,
4 goals is a push.
4 goals is a push. That's the hot dog from Nigel. We've got same game parlay in the big game of the weekend for you as well. City without winning 6. They haven't gone 7 without a win since 2007. It's a long, long time ago. Jack, give us your thoughts on the game, generally the money line and so on, and talk us through your same game parlay.
Yeah, I just feel a bit of trepidation about looking at it going, I fancy Liverpool to win this, and I really do. How they're playing at the moment, every side they're coming up against, they're finding ways to win. Bit fortunate against Southampton, really good against Real Madrid, and at home here as well. And I think they've got to be smelling blood in this one. They've got a real opportunity to put 11 points between themselves and Manchester City. I'd fancy it. And I think the best way I can describe these two sides a minute is they're just being a true reflection of their managers currently. Slot has got that smile on his face. He's cool, calm and collected. He's making jokes. Obviously, he would be in the position he's in, like the incredible position, incredible start to the season. The mentions of Jurgen Klopp are getting fewer and fewer. And he's just like oozing confidence at the moment. And then Pep's coming into interviews ragged. And that's an absolute reflection of his side. That's how they are at the moment. And I have to say, I've got to fancy Liverpool. But on the same game parlay, I've not actually pulled the trigger on the money line, but I've gone around it a little bit differently. I've gone for Liverpool over 1.5 goals as my first leg on their 10 home games so far this season. They've scored 2 or more in 9 of those. And City have conceded 2 or more in each of their last 6 in all competitions, including each of their last 4 away. So 2-0 is my kind of go-to result for Liverpool this season. It seems to be one that suits them down to the ground. Could see it. Ultimately, though, we're looking at Man City here. And as Nigel's pointed out, there tend to be goals in this game. And when Haaland's there, he's getting the chances, isn't he? He's just not taking them. But he's still been pretty accurate, which comes on to the second leg, which is for him to have over 1.5 shots on target. I say he's still getting lots and lots of chances. 17 appearances for City this season, over 1.5 shots on target in 15 of those. And he's had a total of 34 shots in the Premier League so far this season. That's an average of 2.83 per game, shots on target. It's incredible numbers. 2 or more in 11 of his 12 in the Premier League. So that fits in nicely. And I'm ending it with that man, Mo Salah, who actually ruined this stat last night because he put his penalty wide. And up to that point of time, he'd had 18 starts with at least 1 shot on target in each of those, so until he blanked against Real Madrid. But we'll let him off that one. He's obviously saving it up for here. So over 1.5 Liverpool goals, over 1.5 Erling Haaland shots on target, over 0.5 Mo Salah shots on target comes in at plus 400.
Brilliant stuff. Tend to think that Liverpool plus 110 might be back. Tend to think that City plus 250 might be back.
I don't know. I really don't know where it's going to go.
One of those prices could be wrong, Nigel.
I don't know where it's going to go. I really
this
got
is
no
what I'm
idea
saying. One of those prices could look massively wrong,
or it could just stay exactly the same, and people and the books have an equal amount to play.
Absolutely.
I don't see how
nailed on 2-2 draw.
I don't see how anybody
$300. Where would you go?
I go draw. I go draw. Goals. I go 2-2.
I think you've got to go Liverpool, even at plus 110. You've got to, because the
it's
incentive
not the price.
for them,
Nigel, you know it's not the price.
I know it's not the price, but I just think the Man City are there for the take. But the way Man City are playing now, it should be minus 250. You're pricing this up of what we saw at peak Man City. I mean, this is this could be a side that are in total transition, and we don't know. We could look at the end of the season and think Liverpool plus 110 was the best bet of the season. I really find it intriguing, this one. I really do, and I just think that the plus 110 it does look trappy, but how can
do you think they could go off? Could they go off minus money?
No, I don't think they can go off
Nigel?
minus
No.
money. I don't think they can go off minus money. I think they could go off plus 105. I don't think anything even money. I think they'll be even money or bigger. But I think most recreational bettors, anybody watching this or you watch people, they'll put Liverpool in for their bet on the Sunday, or any bettors across the states want to have a few dollars on a match, they'll bet Liverpool. But I think it's the more serious bettors, the handicaps, look at Man City. If the Man City price gets too big, they'll be betting Man City plus 3/4 a goal or plus a half with the draw on their side. I think the big syndicate, this will be a massive syndicate play, shrewd play against a public play. I think the public will go for Liverpool, and I think the syndicates will go for Man City because their algorithms will just tell them that Man City plus a half is the wrong price.
What are we all going for here? I'm going to go draw. Nigel, you going for? Just
What are you
money
going
line?
for, Jack?
I'm going to go for the public here. If I've pushed, I'd have to go with Liverpool.
Well, I'm going to go for Man City just to make it
There
interesting.
we are. One of us,
And
one of us gonna win.
whoever wins buys the first drink at the Christmas party next Friday.
Oh,
Whoever not wins, whoever gets it right, we have to buy a round each.
Brilliant stuff. Look, let us know in the comments, of course, who you're betting for the big game this weekend. We've run a little bit long this week, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. We'll keep everyone updated, of course, over the weekend with our X-Fees. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We are back on Monday, of course. There's a midweek round next week. We've got picks, plays, hot dogs, same game parlays. The live show, of course, every single day at 11 a.m. midweek. Make sure you follow us at Because We Win. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Always get lots of good comments, and we're all on hand to answer. So get your thoughts in when it comes to the Liverpool City game. Where is the value? From all of us, for now, though, it is goodbye. We'll see you next time.